Hello, everyone. Hello, Recoils. Waiting a few minutes for people to join, and then we will start the stream. Gave you guys a list of the main things of interest I want to discuss. Hello, about. Here are the main things that I would like for us to cover through this stream. So, rapid Bitcoin H4 daily updates. In any case, is not really much to discuss from the recent streams. It's been pretty much the same chop fest as expected. Cannot be too surprised. I want to discuss ETH USDT, ETH BTC to share what would be for me the conditions to respect for potential trade over there, how I could see this developing. I want to discuss Solana daily. There is a potential trade setup also that I would like to make from scratch with you guys. I prepared the template. It's not quite ready yet. Unfortunately for me, as I discussed in previous stream, I got wicked out of the first attempt when I will discuss this one if you guys are interested. Oh, I should have cut way before waiting to be stopped out, and what would be the plan for a second attempt. So I will complete this with you guys during this stream, and then after that we can speed run a little bit some Pumplit and Zcash discussions because we covered them during the last streams, and say same thing, some rapid discussions about SpaceX, Google, and SanDisk. Hey, how do you choose your horizontals? Do you use any ICT or English? No, to be honest, it's not particularly something that I overcomplicate. I just if we look at the H4 current Bitcoin short charts, I usually just let things develop a little bit, see what kind of level seems to be the most respected, and that's it. But usually I try to give some weight to higher time frame levels, whether it's previous all-time highs, whether it's the local bottoms, any kind of horizontal levels. But I don't necessarily have a strong thought process behind it. It's pretty much what are the main levels that have been respected previously. Some people have some more thought ways of approaching horizontal levels. For me, it's not that complicated. I also usually like to highlight them with boxes more than just straight line, because I also, like anything when it comes to technical analysis, I feel like some people are treating it too much as a magical thing and are expecting horizontal lines or diagonal lines to be respected to the cent, instead of having a little bit more of a fluid approach. Oh, we've got a suggestion from Flipper about TAO daily. I'm gonna check this one. But yeah, so really nothing fancy. Steven Alik, nothing fancy at all. Really just higher time frame levels, previous all-time highs, places of support, resistance. But yeah, nothing fancy. I'm not much. It's something that I discussed a lot over the past few weeks, especially considering we've been hard chopping. But yeah, I'm not much of a range trader. When I have the early signals of some ranging incoming, some chop fest incoming, it's usually more for me a signal to back out and to let things develop and wait for a more favorable environment for me to trade, which is usually when we are more trending than chop fest. It's something that I've accepted a long time ago. So for me, in my system, horizontal levels are not meant to scalp like someone could do off of the recent H4 range, for example. I tend to use them more in my alerts as potential triggers that I should be interested, because potential end of the chop fest, environment. And I would say also that in my system, I usually like to use them as confluence. Let's imagine that over the next few weeks, we eventually have some sort of a daily 200 EMA, which is currently sitting in the low 70s, retest alongside what was a range high at the beginning of the year. If I'm in the long when this retest happens, And my system based on moving averages is, in any cases, is going to tell me to pay myself on the daily 200 EMA retest. But if I have the confluence with a clean horizontal level, it's just going to be a nice confluence. And one of the reasons I'm usually looking for the confluence of trends and horizontal level is because if/when it's the case, I don't have any excuses not to respect it. What I'm trying to say here is that historically I've been struggling to stick to the system, stick to the approach, even if there is not that many rules, in the sense that, let's imagine that I have a very good long with a good entry and eventually it comes for the daily 200 EMA retest. In the past, I was very good at letting my brain interfere with the plan and tell myself, okay, but what if it's finally the break of the daily 200 EMA and we break the weekly downtrend and this is a bottom entry? While when you have the confluence of both EMA and horizontal level, it diminishes the possibility of your brain messing up with the plan because it's too much confluence not to be respected. So I would say that I try not to overthink horizontal levels too much. I try to give them more weight on higher time frame, which is in any case is more the time frame that I trade. I'm more of a daily time frame trader than anything below that. I usually try to avoid ranging environments. Unfortunately, in most cases, it's the main behavior unless you're trading stonks. And I try to just use them as triggers for me to know I should start paying attention more if/when broken, and or as confluences for target or entries. And I gave you the idea of target, but to give you an idea of entry, if I flip to the weekly time frame, for example, and in the next few weeks, somehow Bitcoin manages to break weekly downtrend, which is currently sitting in the 66 up to 72k region. If I have the reclaim of both the weekly downtrend plus what was a strong consolidation, strong range high for months in 2024, basically all the way up leading to the US elections, then it's going to be a very good way for me to stick to the system and try to get an entry on this retest. So, but this is also why I tend not to have them marked as a Pico precise level and more as a region or a box. So yeah. Thanks. I mean, do understand the arbitrary part. Sometimes I see you choose weak bodies. Yeah. So that's what I'm telling you, that I usually don't set them with a straight, just a horizontal line, and that's why I like to use more of a box like this, which can be less precise for someone that is, for example, range trading. But for me, makes more sense because what I'm trying to highlight is not necessarily a Pico precise level marked by a week or marked by a body, but more of a region where previous interactions showed some interest. And if I have the reclaim of that level plus a strong trend, for example, it's a trigger for a setup. Or if I have a retest of it plus a key moving average, then it's a trigger for a take profit. But I don't have a rule that says that I should only use weeks. Again, I'm trying more to base them off, like for example on these weekly charts, if the box was like this instead of like this, to me it doesn't matter too much. It's more, okay, we know that this entire block over here, if repeated in this region, then which kind of happened, then we know that we want to be interacting with the market if/when this is either retested or reclaimed. Okay, so I know that some people have some more strict system, but also because they tend to be trading scalping ranges and also chasing liquidations and things like this, which is not necessarily my style of trading. I'm more trying to focus on trendy behavior instead of scalping, looking for liquidities. And I'm not saying there is a better approach than the other. I believe that someone that is able to do both probably has a very good set of tools. Someone that is more focused on trend probably is going to do better in bull markets. And someone who's good at scalping probably going to be able to make money more consistently off of the market. Do you use horizontals on H4 or H1, for example? Yeah. The way I see the market doesn't have to change depending on the time frame that I'm looking at. either when I'm trying to write trends or either when I'm just doing some basic technical analysis, mostly because my system at least is not time frame dependent. It tends to be more respected on higher time frames because it gives more time for the trend to develop, for example. But I will not be adjusting the way I trade the market depending on the time frame I'm focused on. If there is a trend on lower time frame, I will be riding it with the same rules that I would do on the daily time frame, for example. It probably just gonna mean that I'm gonna have more active in the market, probably adjusting the market more, adjusting the approach more, adjusting bids more, adjusting stops more, but it doesn't change much. So yeah, I would use the way I see horizontal levels the exact same way I would in lower time frame. Someone, in my opinion, in the people I work with at least, someone that I know was a much more thought process about horizontal levels than me is obviously Main. Who's very good at identifying horizontal levels, liquidity regions, and things like this. So I don't know if you're following him already, but he does some streams very often. And maybe there are some stuff that you can work from him, which I believe is, as you said earlier, more of an ICT approach of the market. He is from that era of 2013, 2016, where a lot of people were disciples of the ICT work. But you can see that he has, for example, more of a order block / horizontal levels approach. So probably he has a much better and much more structured approach of horizontal levels than I do. If you want to follow his streams or things like this, I think he is streaming almost, I would say, on a daily basis or at least on a weekly basis. So don't hesitate to check. I think the order book show is 2 times per week or some things like this. I will tell you that. Live on Tuesday and Thursday. So it's gonna be live tomorrow if you want to check. And because I think it's on YouTube, it's probably you have the replays available. So yeah, not necessarily the way I see trading, but for example, Krillin was a very similar approach than me in the Haven in terms of trends focused. Has also implemented a much more rigorous way of seeing horizontal levels, order blocks, and things like this. He has a more combined version of the two approaches. All right, thanks for the question, Steve. I'm going to start. All right, here are the main points of discussion I want to have today. I will probably speed run some of them because if you were here last week, we are basically at the same prices, maybe a slightly lower compared to last Wednesday. It's a CPI plus PPI week, so in addition to usual chop fest, you can add the fact that the market is waiting for data to come out, which can probably increase the opportunities of just shopping around in the same region before making any kind of big moves. But yeah, so at least to me, if we forget about the news feed, things have been pretty straightforward. If you were here for the previous streams, it's been 3 weeks now, I believe it's been since this region. So really, it's been a month, basically. It's been a month, and particularly 3 weeks that I've been spamming you guys, whether it's on these public streams or on CT or in the Haven, that the incapacity to respect the trend after such a strong trendy behavior that we've had from 80 to low 60s, 58K, is usually a very strong indicator that you should not be expecting any kind of fun things from the market, and you should be expecting chop fest mostly because the trend is disrespected. Obviously, if you have something that is good at showing trends, if it's not respected, you should treat it as a very good indicator of lack of trend. And unfortunately for us, it's been pretty much just that. We had this idea of a chop fest around the daily trend. And yeah, not much to add. The main thing that sucks with this kind of behavior is that the longer we chop, the lower daily 100 MA gets, the lower daily 200 MA gets, which means that the gaps to chase eventually if/when we trend again are smaller. If we see the glass half full instead of half empty, we could also argue that the longer we chop fest, the higher weekly 300 MA is catching up with price, which would be a downside target on higher time frame. So all in all, just very boring developments. Cannot be surprised. August kind of price action in a bear market. nothing major news-wise impacting crypto, at least compared to other markets. Clarity Act has been postponed for September, if I'm not mistaken. We've had some sort of a bullshit narrative within the Bitcoin maxi niche with the BIP 110 and shit like this. Obviously, market doesn't care about what maxi thinks and do. So yeah, very trendless market on Bitcoin. I'm sticking to my approach, which remains to avoid the chop fest as much as possible. I could still be interested in trying to capture a move to daily 100 MA, but as I said during the last stream, if that was to happen, I would probably not do so off of a setup on daily basis because I don't have a setup to take here. But if I do so, I would probably do so on something that starts with a H4 or H1 trend, which would need a beginning of a trend. But as you guys can see on these charts, flat moving averages, H4, yeah, nothing to work with. So I could still be interested in trying to capture that move to daily 100 MA and ultimately to daily 200 MA, a little bit like we did at the end of last consolidation. But if I was to do so, that would not be off of an initial plan on the day. That would probably be on something that starts as a scalp and ends as a trend move. But yeah, until then, I have my alerts set on lower time frames. I don't think I'm going to surprise you guys too much, but I have alerts above 65.5, alerts below 62K, and I'm basically fucking up and letting things develop until these are triggered. While Bitcoin develops and while Bitcoin remains very boring, I am watching other markets. It's something that I shared earlier in the Haven. I think the market is very boring. I think we all agreed on that. And this is already something that I discussed last week. I have the replay of my voice in the background. But it's important not to fall into the trap of the boredom. It's important not to get too complacent with the boredom. And if you have to spend some time in the market, if you have to spend some time in front of the charts, make it something useful, make it something valuable, which basically anything that's going to keep you away from being chopped, which to me is a good opportunity to review trades from your journal. You always have something to learn off of your trade journal. If you have one, if you don't have one, you should make one. If you have one, you should just, it's nice to keep a journal, but it's even better if you are using it and if you are reviewing some of the trades, if you are trying to understand behaviors within the entries, and if you are trying to see how you can improve it when the market is very boring, it's probably a good opportunity to do that. Otherwise, you can also scan the market on our time frame, which is more something that I've been doing over the past few weeks, trying to set some alerts on our time frame, have some plans, get ready. And basically adjust the watch list. I've reduced my watch list. I'm trying to see if there are truly some things of interest. And obviously scan some other markets, look for opportunity, look for volatility where it is. Obviously, we all know that recently the main volatility has been on Stonks and especially on semis with the entire Leo Citadel saga. It's been fantastic to trade, obviously. It has given some huge trades to capture over the past few weeks. That's also why I want to discuss it with you guys later. But yeah, the main idea is that the main mistakes you can do right now, mistakes you can do right now to me is losing your chips by getting chopped, trying to trade that range, trying to outsmart the markets, telling yourself that, oh, this might be a good entry if/when we exit the range. If it takes you 15 tries to do that, the rest of the trade is probably fucked. So don't get trapped into that, especially as we are in the August-November window of a bear market year. That would be a shame to lose your USDT if we have another generational buying event in the next few months, if it's not the case yet already. So don't be an idiot. And yeah, obviously, last point. I believe it's also a good time to try and find some communities of traders, whether it's a paying one, a premium one like the Haven, or if it's a free one, getting into some group chats, trying to discuss with traders, share ideas, discuss setups. if you want to have a premium access, places like the Haven, obviously, I think are a fantastic way to improve rapidly. But there are a lot of other communities where you can hang around and improve with other people. So it's a good time to do that. And if/when inevitably the volatility comes back, you don't want to be caught by surprise. You don't want to be missed position. So yeah, don't be an idiot. Hello, Iogic. Sorry, I'm probably butchering your name. Are you following Micron could fill the gap on H4 100 MA? I was watching it. We can discuss it later. It's in the watch list, and I've been discussing it. Could fill the gap to H4 100 MA. This is the main thing that I was eyeing for Micron. For anyone that's been watching streams or in the Haven, this is the kind of behavior that we know very well. When we have strong trend starts to crack, flips resistance, 100 MA defended, but eventually 100 MA lost. This is often a strong indicator of some EMM, HOP fest incoming. One of the good examples we've had over the past few months was Zcash, obviously. Strong trend starts to crack, 100 MA broken, EMM compression. We've got it also on Bitcoin multiple times, obviously, last year, 2024. And it's the way a lot of them look like. And this is why, for me, whether it's Micron, SanDisk, Google, you have some potential plays to catch whether these regions, so the confluence of daily trend and daily 100 MA, flip resistance or not. If we manage to get back above these blocks, so I didn't update the chart in quite some time, but if we manage to reclaim the daily 100 MA daily trend blocks on those kind of charts, we probably some reversal to capture a little bit more. Maybe not necessarily a new all-time high, but maybe some sort of a move like this. And it's a similar thing on SanDisk, on H4 MU. So yeah, I'm watching this Iodic, but not trading it right now. On something like MU, for example, I would rather sit on my hands a little bit, set some alerts above. I already have one, as you can see. Set some alerts around the H4 100 MA region and wait to see if retested and how retested. But yeah, it's on the watch list. The main reason I'm not necessarily interested to capture the rest of the move up to H4 100 MA is that it's a relatively small gap to capture, and I missed the H4 200 MA retest. So when it's the case like this, I sit out and I wait for the retest, basically. All right, so rapidly, if it's already something that I discussed in previous stream, and these have not changed. It's still very much a fight for the daily 100 MA daily trend compression. I'm gonna adjust the chart a little bit. The main idea remains to try and capture a daily 100 MA, daily 200 MA gap fill. Up. And the compression is getting tighter and tighter. The thing is that you ideally want something like this to start moving quite rapidly. Ideally, you want to see daily trend start to curve up a little bit more and eventually send. If it continues to chop fast around it and start disrespecting daily trend plus daily 100 MA, then it's not really interesting anymore to chase, in my opinion. Or at least if you remember what we said about the trend being disrespected to be a signal of chop fast, then it would be the same thought process for ETH. So that's why, to me, I'm interested in potentially trading ETH over Bitcoin. And for me, the two main conditions for this to happen is, one, I want to see on the ETH USDT pair, I want to have daily trend defended, so daily above daily trends, and daily above daily 100 MA. So it's not quite ready yet. It's still very much fighting with both. But as I said, the tighter things get, the less clean the trend becomes, the less clean the setup to chase is, in my opinion. What I'm trying to say is that, for example, if instead of this tight compression, we had a more straightforward kind of development like this, the setup would have been very straightforward. You use previous lows, you aim for daily 200 MA, right? The tighter it gets, the less clean it becomes. So Unfortunately for ETH, maybe it's the wrong timing, the wrong window to try and make a move because very boring market overall. But yeah, the main idea and the main game plan remains intact, which is if I have daily trend above daily 100, daily above daily trend and daily above daily 100 MA, these are my first conditions to be interested in the long on the USDT pair. And I have a second set of conditions, this time on the ETH BTC pair, which is simply sticking above the daily 200 MA plus daily trend. So that red box over here, so far defended quite nicely. It's basically a fight with the weekly downtrend, which has been the same one since November 2025. And if that's the case, I think we could get an impulse into the weekly 100 MA, which is in line with daily 300 MA. So yeah, if I have the confluence of daily above daily trend on both USDT and BTC pair, and daily above daily 100 MA on USDT pair, plus daily above daily 200 MA on BTC pair, then I'm probably going to favor ETH for some risk over Bitcoin. And the main target would be daily 200 MA, obviously, which would be a weekly downtrend retest. It's the same one since 3.5K with two very clean retests. So, okay. But yeah, so I'm staying patient. As you can see, I have some alerts above this region. I can lower them a little bit. But I would say that the main thing that changed from last week's discussion is that I feel like the longer it takes for the move to unfold, the less we're gonna have moving averages respected, the more I'm gonna have to disregard the overall EMA system, and the more I'm gonna have to stick to that horizontal level and wait for this reclaim, for example. One question I got was, do you think that ETH could get to daily 200 MA if Bitcoin only gets to daily 100 MA? Obviously, I don't know, but I would say that for ETH to get to daily 200 MA, I don't know if one could lead to another, but I know that for ETH to get to daily 200 MA, we're gonna need Bitcoin to not suck dicks, basically. So all in all, probably yes, gonna need Bitcoin to at least get to daily 100 MA if we want ETH to make a move. As much as ETH could outperform, I don't see it go in a long run while Bitcoin continues to chop. I would love to be wrong, but doesn't feel like something that we are going to see yet, and particularly not in this kind of window in the market. So that's about it for ETH. If we have to keep one thing in mind from me in the ETH chart is that I think you want to see the daily trend in the 100, 1850, 1870 to be defended. And I think the timing is getting very tight for ETH to make a move. And basically 1950 needs to break and flip. If 1950 starts to crack and ETH and we are above daily trends on both pairs, then I think you have an argument to try and chase this. I'm not quite sure yet how the setup will look like in the end, but something like this could be okay to chase. And a gap fill from a breakout of the 1950 to daily 200 MA would be a 10% move to capture, which is more than decent in my opinion on something like ETH. And it'd probably be a strong signal for the rest of the alt market. It's something that I was discussing with you guys last stream, last week, is that I believe that if we want to be able in crypto to capture a little bit of the money rotation from stonks and semis and all of that, it's probably going to be easier to do so if something like ETH runs, because ETH, outside of crypto, for some other people, ETH is still probably, even if outperforming for some years, the innovative place outside of just meme coins and casino that Solana probably is more, or at least in the spotlight. So a strong ETH with a narrative going on ETH, in my opinion, could lift the entire market more than just a digital gold narrative on Bitcoin. But obviously, if both could go hand in hand, that would be fantastic. And maybe it's my plumber OG philosophy, but I don't know. I would feel like market people could probably use the ETH performance and ETH to not suck dicks anymore. Could probably help the rest of the market. So far, it has not been the case, and so far they are still doing some nonsense. It's the 10th roadmap from Vitalik in 2 years or something like this. I'm probably over exaggerating, but yeah. So that's why I'm keeping a close eye on it. These plus the daily development on the BTC pair. But I'm not being too delusional. I'm getting ready to potentially capture a trade over there, but yeah, I'm not trying to have too much and too high expectations from it. I'm getting ready to forget about it quite rapidly if needed. But yeah, as much as it's been a shitty one to trade, or at least a very underperforming coin, let's hope that it can make some moves. So we can move on to Solana. Solana, I want to get ready for a potential setup. And probably it's me being a little bit silly, trying to get my revenge. Because I've had, I believe that I've handled this first attempt on Solana very poorly. When I tried to go for that setup in the event, the main idea was that I wanted to see this block retested and defended. And to me, this first close over here, with we are below daily 100 MA and daily trend is not respected, should have been my exit. I should have manually closed that setup here, because I had the combination of failure to defend daily 100 MA, failure to defend the daily trend. Of course, there was the argument of this horizontal level, but in my opinion, not enough to justify trend-wise to stay in a setup. But I got too complacent in the boredom. I told myself maybe it's just because it's July. Eventually, we get to spike up, especially considering that the Solana on-chain activity has been getting some steaming up. But all in all, was a very bad decision, and I paid the price in the sense that I got wicked out on a Saturday afternoon move. Was the pick of bottom, took me out, and then started to consolidate again. So maybe it's me trying to get my revenge, and it's very often not a good trading strategy, right? But still, if I try to forget this failed setup and the loss I took here, how would I approach a potential Solana long? I think for me there is two clear conditions. The first condition is I want to see daily above daily 100 MA and 78 level. And the second condition is I want to see daily trend defended above / at daily 100 MA. What I mean by that is some sort of daily 100 MA each daily trend compression leading into a breakout. So a little bit what I drew over there. If I get both of these conditions, I think I'm going to be willing to beat the retests of it. Probably not as low as this blue box, probably down to that week that we printed 2 days ago. But yeah, probably more something like this. So the entry would be on retest of daily 100 MA X daily trends down to Tuesday 11th week low, giving us 77.5 down to 74.5. If we go in lower time frame, does it fit with something? Yeah, it fits with H for 100 MA a little bit. Probably not too clean, but okay. Invalidation. Failure to alt / flip daily 100 MA X daily trends. Manual invalidation on the daily below daily 100 MA daily trends. This time respected, you idiot. SL 73 to be defined, precised. Risk, I'm going to go for 1 hour risk, nothing fancy. target one, I probably want to aim for this local high that we printed mid-July, early July, sorry, so 81, 82. Probably gonna be, I probably will want, it's likely that I want to front run it, to be honest. $81, $82. Early July highs. Target 2, I have this region marked out as the breakdown level. We got the mid-May retest, start to consolidate back inside the range into breakdown. So I probably want to be able to get some out also in this region. 84, 85. And target 3, daily 200. Wherever it is. When I say wherever it is, it's that at current prices, it's sitting in at 89. But by the time we get there, if we get there, it's probably going to get lower. So I will want to be able to adjust this target as things develop. 1 for off. 1 for off. Keep 1/3. Cut it if when the trend lost again. Okay, that's gonna be the plan for now. Not definitive plan in terms of SL plus entry, could be adjusted depending on how things develop from here. All right. I already have the alert set, so now the only thing we can do is wait. Put some alerts and rotation. All right, this is the main thing I wanted to discuss today in terms of crypto. Up. I'm gonna be able to speed run the rest a little bit more. Hello, Bucket Printer. Hey, Zach. How are you? Google raises prices on severe memory crunch. Google new phones are 100 more expensive than last editions. It's probably not going to help. Google on that retest, which is a key retest for Google. If Google doesn't manage to defend this blue box, you can forget of this fractal. And it's probably going to be more of a chop fest bird for Google. Not that big, but probably something like this. Okay, for crypto pump, obviously everyone and their mother have been watching pump. This is the main setups that I've been discussing in the Haven. Unfortunately for me, as you can see, up. It came very close to the entry, but yeah, front run the entry and basically sent 40%, 35% without me. But that was a clean retest. We had day 300 MA plus daily trend retest, so pretty clean. Congrats if you caught that. I've been watching the H4 trend development because it's been defended since 0.019, and it's probably a good one to watch. I did not compound on that retest or look to trade that retest. What I'm gonna do is that I just want to set some alerts below and down to H1 200 MA, wherever it is. Okay. And I'm probably not going to beat that, but if these alerts are triggered, it's probably mean that I'm gonna get a daily trend retest, and it's probably more what I will be able, or what I will want to focus on. The main argument here is that it's been defending daily trend since that breakout over here. We've got 1 retest, 2 retests, 3 retests, 4 retests, not over there. So it's probably the best time frame to focus on, and that's what I'm gonna do. I thought at the beginning of the stream that I was not particularly interested in lower time frame setups across the market. The only thing that made me lie was the lead development, and even there we lost / we are losing the H4 trend. So even the argument to focus on H4 trend on lead was invalidated by the price action we have today. So yeah, I'm gonna stick to the daily time frame. So basically what I'm gonna do in that situation is that I'm gonna set some alerts. I need to put back these alerts, but I'm gonna set some alerts at daily 13 EMA, plus I need to put back the H1 200 EMA alerts. And I'm just going to wait for this to develop. I'm very interested to try and give another daily trend retest scalp long up to these January 2026 highs, which has not been filled yet. But basically, if we get daily trend catching up like this, tightening up a little bit more, and some sort of a consolidation like this, that remains a 20% to capture. I would be interested in trying to chase that. I'm very curious to see how pump develops from here in terms of narrative, in terms of momentum. I've been saying over the past few weeks and in stream that if I was the pump fund team, I would probably try to use the current spike in price plus return of activity to chill a potential airdrop, not giving any time, anything precise, but hint of a potential airdrop. And be the most evasive possible. Basically, let people create the narrative themselves instead of giving a date or giving a timeline. But if I was the pump fund team, I would try to ride off of that momentum to pump the price a little bit more while the rest of the market is pretty boring. Giving themselves, especially now considering that they have some competitors with FOMO, right? So yeah, we'll see how they manage that or not. But in any case, it's strong move from pump fund. A little bit mad at myself because I believe that these were pretty decent retests to try and capture, and I'd probably been too aggressive. I probably dismissed the trending potential, trying to have pico precise entries instead of just getting in, which is a very bear market behavior. In bull market, what I often say is that in bull markets, you usually don't care about the quality of your entry because you are in a forgivable environment and you want to be in a position more than to be in a perfect position. Basically, you want to ride the trend rather than try to catch the pico bottom or pico top. While in the bear market, obviously, you want to be only focusing on quality setups, which means that you are very often going to be more picky in the way you are chasing entries. You are going to be looking to chase liquidations, blah, blah, blah. And yeah, in that case, instead of waiting for the perfect retest, confluence of daily 100 MA plus daily trend, or confluence of daily 200 MA plus daily trends, like the setup like here, over there, I should have just looked to get in a position. Gonna have to rewire the brain if that's when we have more trendy behavior across the board. But yeah, it's on the watch list. Alert set from H1 200 MA down to daily trends. Lead, it's gonna be rapid. I was not expecting to see this development today. I think it was interesting as a setup. Initially, it came for a nice retest, but I think it was interesting as a setup because we had a clean EMMA compression that gave a nice How much is it? 18% move before retracing. The only thing probably, if you've been waiting for an entry, this is probably where you want to see some defense. This is probably the place to hold for lead. I'm going to delete the other setups. Another good example of what I discussed earlier when Iogic was mentioning Micron. Strong trend starts to crack 100 MA loss into compression. But they're probably going to need to see this defended. How the setup could look like for something like this, you want to give it a shot. This is probably where you want to start bidding an entity on lower time frame. Yeah, Confluence with H1 300 MA. Personally, I would keep a tight validation, probably something like this. I don't know if I want to give that a shot. But yeah, if you're a lead bull, this is the place you want to see some defense. The post compression initial long retest. If you don't want to take that risk, I think it's very fine also to let that retest happen. And if defended, wait for the trend reclaim. Can gamble on these retests of EMMA or let it happen. Wait to see if defended plus friends after only. Probably going to go for the second option. But yeah. The main argument for me to go for the second option more than the first one is that I don't have a clear region that I would want to use as an invalidation. I would not necessarily know exactly where I want to place my stops here. So I probably would need to be guessing a little bit, which is probably not ideal. So yeah, let's see. But clearly a key retest. Okay. I'm gonna set some alerts back at 2.3 and down to 2.15. The other argument is the daily trend retest, but not as good of an argument. This is the kind of behavior where I want to be beating daily trends. This is not the kind of behavior where I want to be beating daily trends. Remember what we discussed on the Bitcoin daily charts? Daily trend disrespected, you expect Chopfest mostly. Daily trend lost, reclaimed. Probably going to be spending some time in that block for some time, which would be more than good enough for lead, to be honest. That would not be the end of the world. Zec daily is gonna be very rapid. The main idea, the main discussion was a potential setup for a daily 100 MA plus daily trend defense into break of 520. But as you guys can see, with yesterday's daily close, we have daily 100 MA and daily trend disrespected. So as we just discussed on leads daily trend being not disrespected probably means some chop fest more than anything on that time frame. So not interested anymore. This is the main takeaway. I just wanted to say it because I know that I've been discussing Zcash on stream recently. Daily trend disrespected, not interested. As long as it's the case, setting alerts above 520 clear resistance at daily 200. Up. Yeah, I've been spamming over the past 2 weeks that it's a daily 100 must hold plus 520 must break. But eventually, I kind of feel like eventually we have a Zcash trade brewing, like the one we took in May. That was one of the with VVV so far this year. My two best trades have been on VVV and Zcash. But eventually, I think we have another banger like this setup to capture. And this time, hopefully, we manage to. This is also a very bear market behavior, like paying myself too soon. But yeah, I hope that we have a banger Zcash brewing eventually, just like this VVV trade from April. VVV, by the way, nothing new. Remember what we just discussed with Micron and all of these? Strong trends, trend starts to crack, flip resistance, 100 MA lost, potential EMA compression, which means that you are waiting for either a complete EMA gap fill, so you are waiting for a daily 300 MA retest, or you are waiting for a daily 100 MA break, which if you've been following the stream for some time, you should know that it's basically our main game plan on the weekly on Bitcoin. Strong trends, trend loss, 100 MA breaks, which means that we are expecting EMA compression, in which case that means that we are either waiting for a retest of the 300 MA region, either waiting for a weekly 100 MA break, and if the gaps within the compression are big enough, then we want to play the gaps into the weekly downtrends and potentially trade the reclaim. So it's the exact same thought process on VVV, but on the daily. So yeah, not much to say. It's one that we keep an eye on, one that could have an easy narrative to write and to sell. But as long as it's in the EMA compression region, I don't want to overtrade it. Especially considering that I missed the first daily 200 MA retest, which gives me a good transition to SanDisk. The only thing I wanted to discuss on SanDisk is that the daily trend, daily 100 MA confluence over here is the must reclaim, the must break, flip, reclaim. I believe that if/when done, you have an argument for a retest down to this region over here. Doesn't have to be, so basically the place where we started to lose the daily trend. I think I would be interested in changing that. That would probably be a setup that looks like this, which is a massive setup, obviously. But as long as it's below, I don't want to overtrade it. And the second thing I wanted to discuss on SanDisk, which I believe is applicable to any charts, at least it's a rule I have in the system, is that I'm usually very interested in playing the first retests of EMA. So whether it's the 100 MA retest, 200 MA retest, 300 MA retest. But after these have already been played out once, I'm not willing to give it a second shot. So if it comes back for another retest of the daily 200 MA, I'm not going to be beating it this time, the same way I was doing it on the first retest. On AMD, we got a very clean H4 200 MA retest. If it was to come for this retest again, I would probably not be interested in playing it. So that was it for SanDisk. On Google, I already discussed the fight for 340, 360. I believe at this point, either you've been beating this region and you have to pray that it eventually sees some defense. Otherwise, I think you can be a little bit patient, let this retest happen and play the reclaim over there. I'm probably going to be interested in compounding on this. But if I start seeing some daily close back below 340, I'm going to be cutting the rest of the position. And the same way that I just discussed for SanDisk and for AMD, if it comes back again for daily 200 MA, I will not be bidding it like the first retest. I'm basically just applying the exact same approach and rules and thought process that we have for shitcoins, but for mega caps. And it's been doing well. I can't say that I'm very confident approaching stonks as I am with crypto, obviously, as it's been 10 years I've been trading crypto versus 2 months on stonks. But I'm getting there. Mostly because it's been in a raging bull market. And as I said at the beginning of the stream, the stronger the bull market, the more trendy environment, the better the system, the better my system applies. So it makes perfect sense considering how trendy it's been in stonk worlds that the system we've built based off of trendy environments to be respected quite nicely. But it's pretty nuts when you look at either indices with SPX or even gold or anything. It's been insane. I didn't check gold. Yeah, it's been insane how well respected the system has been. And it's a shame that I didn't use this sooner. I waited way too long to pay attention to stonks. SpaceX. The only thing I want to discuss on SpaceX is that it's been insanely clean H4 downtrend, which means that from here you probably want to be playing the H4 trend flip. So to me that means that I want to have 2 sets of alerts on this post-listing local floor, which to me is the main upside target short term. So that's 145, 150, and on H4 trend retests. If it's giving me some H4 trend retests and they are defended, I want to be playing them. Which means that I want to have alerts on H4 trends and on H1 200 MA development, which so far is good because I have this rule that says that you have a trend flip when you have H1, when you have time frame minus 200 MA flipped. In that case, if I want to focus on H4 trend, it means that we want to see H1 200 MA flipped. So I want to see if and how any retest of that blue box happens, basically, from here into the next few days. Don't know yet how the setup could look like. Don't know how aggressive I would be willing to play it. But the thought process is that considering how well respected the H4 time frame, the H4 trend has been, I probably want to give it a shot. So considering how well respected H4 trend has been to the downside, probably want to focus on H4 trend retests from here and right if defended. Reminder, defended equals close above plus -1, time frame -1, 200 MA defended here, H1 200 MA. Okay. And we're gonna take a look at TAO to finish the stream after and rider supplication up. Key retest on daily for SanDisk here. Units of daily 100 daily trend that breaks that return. Otherwise, back to daily continue. Okay. TAO. What was the answer from Much appreciated. Here's my chart flipping the July, early August highs plus daily trend. Okay, so I understand the setup, the thought process. The main idea is you want to see these flipped plus daily trends curving up for daily 100 EMA, daily 200 EMA gap fill. So why not? I see the idea, but I'm gonna have some reservation. I don't know if that's English. I'm gonna have to be the party pooper. Yo, Anna. They voted Anna Diarmas fan. That's a cool nickname. Okay, so I understand the thought process from trader flipper view, but personally, so potential daily trends, daily ones, they may cap fill brewing, but for now, very flat daily trends. How is the H4 looking like? Yeah, very flat daily trends and H4 EMA structure. Which means less relevance. So personally, the plan would be one, wait for first impulse, wait for daily trend to curve up above, to curve up and catch up above 200, 205. Yeah, 205. Bit from here. Basically, wait for move to start rather than hope for move to start. Which means that trying to get into the position right now would be probably giving you a better entry, but I'm willing to sacrifice a potential better entry here than paying the price seeing some chop vests like this. Okay. Last thing, TRX. Ugh. I said X. Nah, no fucking way. Think TRX can hold up the trend. I feel like we can go lower on BTC S&P today, H1, H4. Possibly on H1, H4. Personally, I'm not that interested. I would say if we start, your strong indicator to expect some low retest on Bitcoin and probably a sweep of 62s is whether yesterday's lows defended or not. If we start seeing yesterday's low broken, we probably fill that region quite rapidly and give a tap into the 62K region. If it continues to be defended, we probably chop like this until PPI. In any cases, not particularly interested, but I'm gonna check the TRX chart because I will admit it, I have rage quitted the TRX charts. Okay, I feel a little bit better. The reason I rage quitted following the TRX development is because I initially thought that I got trapped, and probably, and maybe it's the case, but I've had this philosophy on TRX, which has been long every weekly 32 EMA retest until it doesn't work anymore, and it's basically been in the same weekly uptrend from March 2023 until the first proper break in October last year, which was an exit for me. And the last time I checked again, it started to move like this, and I was like, "Fuck!" I did not re-entered, but the system told me not to because we had disrespected. So I've stopped watching TRX because I was a little bit mad. But maybe I should pay attention again if it starts defending the weekly trend. In any cases, one thing that I've said for TRX devoted and at the Armas fan is that if you're trading the TRX, you probably don't care about what Bitcoin and S&P do. TRX is, I mean, you just look at the charts. TRX is not giving two fucks what Bitcoin and SPX do. It's just doing its own thing, right? So if you are actively trading TRX, I don't think you should give too much importance to other markets, and it's probably one of the good arguments for TRX. And I think that if you are willing to trade some alts, one of the outside of obvious good setup to chase, one of the things that I'm looking for the most when I'm trading shitcoin is whether it can be able to do its own thing, which is why Zcash and VV were so much good trades through the year. Because you want to avoid correlation with SPX, with Bitcoin, right? It's a bear market year. This is what I called isolated trends. And we get them a few times during bear market. We got hype, lead, VV, Zcash, etc. pump recently. So when you are looking to trade a shitcoin, if it's been largely decorrelated from the rest of the market, it's good news. It can also mean that Bitcoin can get to 80k and your shitcoin don't move and you're mad. But if it means that it's not impacted by Bitcoin lower time frame price action, it's a good argument. With that being said, I am personally a strong advocate of not trading TRX actively. I think it's a very good one to focus on higher time frame. I think it proved it quite nicely with basically a 0.05 run all the way up to 0.30 right now, off of a single weekly trend. So personally, it's not something that I would trade on lower time frame, and even on the daily. When you look at the chart in general, it's pretty shit most of the time. But on the weekly, if it starts defending weekly trend again, it's probably a good one to swing. To me, one of the stronger uptrends in alts with GST. Yeah, probably. I mean, it's entire Justin environment, right? So he's been very good at scamming and manipulating the market in his way, and there is nothing you can say. TRX again. TRX has been one of the only coin. It's been one of the very few alts of the markets that has printed a new all-time high through the last cycle, and it's one of the only one that's probably infinitely up against Bitcoin. Well, not infinitely up, but up against Bitcoin over the past few years. So as much as I believe that Justin Sun is a con artist, I also know that Tron is used a lot on stablecoins, particularly USDT on Tron is used a lot, and he has managed to find a way to never end up in jail somehow, even with the very shady initial start he got. So if we forget about all of that and we just stick to the chart, there is nothing to say. TRX has been, if you've been long TRX and if you've been compounding on weekly trend retest on TRX over the past few years, you probably outperformed a lot of people in crypto. So I would say that with the recent disrespect of the weekly trend since October 2025, or close to a year ago, it's maybe less clean than it was before, but if it starts defending daily weekly trend again, let's say, for example, if it starts doing some sort of a triangle like this on higher time frame, then you probably want to be back to buying every weekly 32 EML retest until it doesn't work anymore. So what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna set some alerts back to these local highs over there, and from there I will want to see if it's still defended or not, and I'm probably going to rage to revenge back in a position if it starts doing so. I wasn't aware about VVV, adding it to the watch list. It's Eric Voures AI coin. It had a very strong run this year. It's basically a open uh, yeah, I don't know how to say it. It's Venice protocol. It's been riding off of the AI and LLM hype a lot. One of the two reasons I was interested in trading this earlier this year was first, obviously, the trendy behavior, because showing signs of daily trend in a bear market, which is usually the main thing I'm looking for. And the second thing is when I realized it was Eric Voor's. I always say his name bad, so I'm sorry about that. But Eric Voorhees, I don't know, shitcoin, which historically has been good at initial runs on the projects he's been running, and apparently it's a good model. So people have been saying that it's interesting as a project. However, now with that said, VVV is facing the exact same issues that most of the crypto projects have been facing, which is they've been raising recently, and there has been a lot of discussion about the duality of equity versus token, and they tried to share some thought process on this, and how even if they raised not in token but in equity, they would still try and make it happen that it's in line with accrual value of the token. But it explains a little bit the cool off that we've seen. If I'm not mistaken, the announcement of the raise was in this region over there, and then you can see the market reaction. So fundamentally speaking, I don't know how much weight it has, but all I know is that every B market, I am riding a few isolated runs. 2019 was Binance EOS with Matic, Seal. No, that was not the EO, but in 2018-19 bear market, the main isolated trends to ride were Link plus Binance EOS plus UOB illiquid coins like Seal. Last bear market, end of last bear market was 2021 bear market was, for me, it was early days Unibot plus ING and all of those, which delivered multipliers. And so far for me, this bear market, as someone that is not active on chain and with meme coins, it's been VV and Zcash. And I don't, and because I've been trading hype poorly, unfortunately for me. But yeah, these are the two last trade I can be proud about, to be honest. But it is a bear market here. It is what it is. At least I'm honest with myself. And it makes sense because system-wise, the system is made to ride those moves. So, all right, that's it for today. Slightly longer stream than initially planned, but we discussed a lot of things. I hope it was interesting. If you have any question for me, don't hesitate to ask. Don't send DMs because the DM system is completely broken on Twitter, but answer below any kind of post of me, and I will try to answer if you have question after this stream. If you're interested in those kind of content, don't forget that you can have access to a weekly streams from me and other analysts in the Haven. You can check on my profile. We have several offers. We have a free offer where you have access to a free community. You have access to the educational contents, which I believe is probably something you want to be considering. As I said at the beginning of the stream, it's a very boring time in the market, but may at least use it to improve your skills. And we have a gigantic library of educational content from all the analysts. You can get access to that on a less expensive entry, and otherwise the entire Haven offer, obviously. So don't hesitate to check if you're interested. In any cases, I'm going to continue sharing content on CT as usual, and as I've been for the years and doing those kind of streams. But yeah, probably a good time to lock in a little bit more and see if you can improve before the easier conditions come back. With that being said, see you guys for the next stream.